Court does call the case, People versus Darius Harris.
Bridget Coons on behalf of Mr. Harris. State your name for the record.
Darius Harris.
Your Honor, this time and date set up for sentencing. I have reviewed the pre-sentence investigation with the client. We have no material changes, additions, or omissions. At this time, we would ask the court to adopt the recommendation.
Sir, is there anything you'd like to tell me before I do impose sentence?
Yes, sir. I just want to say to the court, prosecutor, I appreciate taking your time out. When I first came up here, I don't know if you remember, I told you I wasn't trying, I was guilty. Not a bad person or a bad guy. Everybody got a pass, but I just think a racial slur directed to me got under my skin and got the best of me. Apologize about wasting your time because that's something I could have handled better, but it just got under my skin. And I truly apologize.
I think I told you I didn't think of you necessarily as a bad person.
I just at the moment I work so hard coming from my family tree, my grandfather, things of that nature. Still no excuse. Supposed to have to conduct yourself in a certain way in public. I work hard not to be called that. I work hard not to be looked upon that. I'm a very smart young man. I'm a CNC programmer and CNC operator. But when I was called that, it just kind of got under my skin. But that's not the way you handle stuff, and I understand that. I know that. Just not the way you handle it.
You knew that before it happened.
And I just let it get under my skin. Wasn't the right way.
And I'll just say this to you. You know, when I took this position probably almost a quarter century ago, God, that sounds weird. Emily was here with me. She was 5. But you just, one of the things I learned real quick, and I knew it because of how I was raised, people are going to call you all kinds of things, right? And so I just developed this saying in my mind, you can call me whatever you want as long as you call it with respect, right? I don't let those words and those things get under my skin. And the reason is because whoever is saying that to me doesn't know me. And the only way, right? And you know what I'm saying, right?
Sorry.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And since you don't know me, you can't really say that about me. And the only way I let that get under my skin is if at any given moment I begin to think that about myself, and I will never, ever think that about myself.
Yes, sir.
So I'm telling you, young man, don't ever let that get under your skin, because that's not you.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
You weren't raised that way. And I dare say this, because I know it. Your ancestry does not dictate that that's you.
Yes, sir.
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
And I know your people told you that too. So all I'm doing is repeating everything they told you. Right?
Yes, sir.
And I'm just sharing with you what my mama taught me. And she was the smartest woman in the world, ever, always was, and always will be. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Because you don't need to be here. Right?
Right.
No, I know. But you don't need to be here. Not for something like this. We're better people than that.
Yes, sir.
It's really simple. Sense of the court. I'm changing this a little bit. Sense of the court. We're going to place you on 6 months prosecutor deferred sentence. We're going to order $555 fines and court costs. I'm waiving all of those costs except 125 of those costs. Probation oversight fees would then be reduced because of the probationary period to $180. When do you think you can get all that paid, young man?
I was trying to pay it today. My check and direct deposit first thing in the morning. I get paid tomorrow.
Get it paid by this Friday, the 1st.
Sir.
There should be no use of alcohol, recreational marijuana, or any illegal substance should be subject to random testing as requested by probation. You are to complete an anger management class. You're to do that within 60 days. You're not to have any contact, no assault or threatening or intimidating behavior. You're not to possess any weapon, firearm, ammunition, or anything fashioned to be a weapon. You're to report to probation as directed by probation, including any home visits. You're to maintain employment with verification to probation. I'll set a review hearing that's to be held February 12th, 2000. Well, actually, that's going to change the date. Miss Clara.
Oh, 6 months. Sorry, you're right.
It's okay. The review date will be August 14th, 2024, 9 a.m. I'll order 93 days in jail that is suspended. Out there, just act like the prince that you are, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
In this gripping courtroom moment, the judge calls the case of People versus Darius Harris. But what begins as a simple sentencing quickly transforms into a powerful human story about pain, pride, emotion, and the struggle to stay in control when life tests you. Standing before the court, Darius admits he made a mistake, his voice trembling between regret and exhaustion, as he explains how a hateful racial slur cut him so deeply that he lost control for a moment he now wishes he could take back. He tells the judge he has worked his whole life to rise above negativity. He comes from a proud family, he has a hard-working grandfather he looks up to, and he fights daily to be judged by his character, not by any stereotype. He explains that he is a CNC programmer, a skilled, intelligent young man who tries to stay focused on his future. But that day, when someone targeted him with a slur he has spent his entire life trying to outgrow, it got under his skin in a way he never wanted, and he reacted. He apologizes sincerely, not just for the incident, but for wasting the court's time, admitting he knew better and should have walked away. The judge listens patiently and then responds with wisdom earned through decades on the bench. He tells Darius that people will always say things hurtful, ignorant, unfair things, but the only time those words have power is when you start believing them yourself. He shares what his own mother taught him long ago. Never let someone else's words define who you are. He reminds Darius that his ancestry, his upbringing, his achievements, and his character all prove he is worth far more than any insult thrown his way. The judge speaks to him almost like a father would, telling him he sees potential, intelligence, and dignity in him, and that he has no business being in court over something so small compared to the greatness he is capable of. After this emotional exchange, the judge hands down a lenient sentence, 6 months probation, reduced fines, anger management, random testing, emphasizing that he expects Darius to carry himself like the prince he truly is. But the courtroom tension rises again when the complaining witnesses speak up, saying they're scared, saying Darius has provoked them and even followed them, while Darius's side argues the opposite, that they are the ones being harassed, watched, and disrespected in the neighborhood. The judge, seeing emotions escalating, steps in firmly. He warns everyone that the courtroom is not a battleground. It belongs to the people and must stay respectful. He explains that he cannot order a mutual no-contact order because he has no authority over the witnesses, but he stresses that both sides must avoid each other completely for their own good. The neighbors begin accusing each other of being followed, stared down, or provoked, and the tension rises to the point where the judge has to calm them repeatedly, reminding them that anything they do now could lead to new charges or even escalate into something dangerous. He tells both sides to stay away from each other like they have a plague: no talking, no eye contact, no gestures, no following, and absolutely no more conflict. He arranges for the complaining witnesses to leave the courtroom first to prevent confrontation, then warns both sides that if they continue to let this hostility grow, the consequences could be far worse than anyone expects. What started as a simple sentencing becomes a deep emotional lesson about self-control, dignity, the power of words, and the heavy cost of letting anger define your actions. It becomes a story about two sides trapped in the same neighborhood, each feeling scared, angry, or disrespected, and a judge trying desperately to pull them back from the edge before this small incident snowballs into something life-altering. In the end, the hearing is less about guilt or innocence and more about humanity, how fragile it is, how easily it cracks, and how people must sometimes be reminded of who they are before their worst moments define them forever.